Welcome to the Wild Medicine Podcast. This is your host, Earthny, and I have so much gratitude for your space here today. Thank you for showing up. During this podcast, you will find out about the ascension symptoms, when we are awakening into our truth, and when we are awakening into a new earth. There are many symptoms that come along with it. It's not an easy ride. It's not always pleasurable. It's not all love and light and rainbows. There are real struggles. There are real blockages that we will have to work through. And so it is my greatest hope and my greatest honor to bring forth this podcast for you and for everyone that you touch with your life. May we all go with grace, may we all go with ease, and may this podcast give you every single tool you need to stand up in your truth as you embark on this powerful journey. Wild Medicine is a podcast dedicated to awakening you and reminding you of your sovereignty. Through our episodes, we share medicine from all over the world and ancient art forms that awaken our Kundalini energy, our chakras, and our enlightenment, so that we can live in a way that is in harmony with our greatest nature and the truth of our beings. Sit back, relax, get out your crystals, maybe brew some tea or a journal to write down all of these beautiful topics and informations. Kick back, relax, and now is your time to awaken. Greetings and welcome, guys. Welcome to another week, another opportunity to learn more and remember who you truly are. I am extremely excited to bring forth today's episode because it's been something that you guys have been reaching out to me for quite a long time now, and I've been giving you guys some tips individually, but I figured this would be a beautiful opportunity to just really sit down and get nitty-gritty with the topic of awakening and what awakening is and what comes with the awakening process and some symptoms that you might receive along the way. Before we get started into this week's episode, I wanted to take a moment and talk about the sponsor of the Wild Medicine podcast. Is earthny.com, my very own business where I create handmade spiritual tools for you to ascend and to use in your awakening process, as well as my online course, Renewal. Renewal is a 30-day guidance program where I literally hold your hand online and help you get inside of yourself and remember who you really are, what your purpose is, what your sacred why is, and we go through an exact process to help you bring that into your reality and to manifest it with the snap of your fingers. It is beautiful, it is powerful, and it is changing lives, and I would love to see more faces and meet more of you guys in our Renewal online course. So if you're interested, just head over to earthny.com and get yourself registered. Our early bird ends on the 11th, and the price will go up to $88. So you have one more day to get this beautiful online course for $55. It comes with 30 days of guidance, 4 meditations, 4 one-hour videos, as well as a yoga class every week, and every day I give you a new affirmation and a new journal topic to work with along your renewal process. So it's extremely powerful. I am so excited to see you there, and yeah, just head over to earthny.com and check it out. So, awakening. This is something that I feel like has been a topic that people have been sharing about for eons and centuries because, we are a human race. We are beings that are intelligent, and we realize that there's more to know and there's more to learn about and there's more to explore. And the deeper we kind of go down that rabbit hole, the deeper we realize that there's more potential for us and where we're headed, and that everything is not what meets the eye. And that is what awakening to me means. It means that, you're recognizing that there's more going on in your reality and in the space in your world that you might not see, and that there's certain aspects of this world where you are learning about, and it's usually a very spiritual process because it's awakening. It's a positive upward process, and when we are remembering our truth, when we are awakening to these ancient truths of who we are, where we come from, what we're here to do, what we're connected to, as far as the cosmos and, all of, star seeds. And there's so many topics and so many revelations that you can awaken into. And so the process, because it is quite multidimensional, is not it's not a walk in the park. It's more of like a hike up a mountain type of process. And so for a lot of people, when they start learning about chakras and the true potential of our human bodies and the information that it's able to channel and the energy it's able to channel and the healing that it's able to bring forth and the very fine medicine of our existence, when we begin to awaken about that, it can be a little difficult because, we've been conditioned to believe certain aspects of life and certain, ways of living that have been quite limiting into our experience and our process of being human beings. And so when we're awakening, we're having to figure out, okay, like, this is not true. Like, this whole life that I've been living, this whole, thing that I've been learning and all this stuff, like, it's not true. And that can be a really difficult thing to swallow. And, you're stepping up to the plate. You're stepping up to, a lighter vibration of acknowledgement and wonder and knowing and stepping away from ignorance and blockage. And, that can be a pretty dramatic shift because once you know, there's no going back. You have to keep charging forward. You have to keep, at a steady rate. And there's certain things that happen in our psyche when we start to awaken. And there's certain things that happen in our, physical lives as well as energetical lives, dream life, astral life, that can trigger us during the awaken process. And that can be seen as tests. That can be seen as just simply, the way of life, and a lot of people, if they're not fully aware of the awakening process and the symptoms, it can be really hard to go through that. It can be really hard to actually, keep going forward with your awakening process and keep, climbing up that mountain of knowledge instead of just turning your back and going back the other way into ignorance, because there's people, there's places, there's so many things in our life that try to distract us and try to bring us down, especially in this 3D dense reality that many of us are still living in as we're ascending into the fifth dimensional reality. And that's kind of a topic for another podcast, the difference between 3D and 5D and 4D and different dimensions. I should really do a podcast on that. So, what does it mean to awaken yourself? So, like I said before, you're learning a lot about who you are. You're learning a lot about this reality. You're learning a lot about, the technology of the world around us, whether that's herbs, whether that's, crystals or your chakra system or, yoga or even just self-empowerment. Every awakening has its own specific, corridor. Something as simple as, self-love can be a whole awakening process because we are awakening into our divinity. We're awakening into our truth of, the love that we deserve. And that can come with, triggers of, having to really dig through, what we deserve and, awakening to the ways that we have not been serving ourselves in the most loving way. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways that awakening follows through and, channels forth. But the big theme is that you're letting go of the ignorance and the belittling of the human experience, the lower, denser vibrations, and you're choosing to stand up and climb higher up into that mountain of yourself and your experience. And a lot of that just comes with finding who we really are. So, learning what our truth is, learning like, who am I? Okay, I'm Tierney V. Hill. I was, born in Colorado, but I live in Texas, and I'm an artist. And then, but yeah, that's like surface level stuff. Like, who really are we at our core? where do I come from? Am I just like a squiggle in the universe that popped up here? Am I a ascended master? Am I a star seed? Did I live on other planets? How many lifetimes have I had on Earth? Really digging inside of ourselves to feel, who we are, not just on like a physical, like 3D level, but on like a multidimensional level, on a very deep inner and outer world level. Who are we? And that's kind of the beginning of an awakening process, is, really starting to question yourself. Who am I? Where did I come from? What am I here to do? And just those simple questions will bring forth a whole new world of awakening for us. And something that's pretty, typical along the awakening process is the topic of star seeds. So if you're not aware of what a star seed is someone who comes from a different planet, hence stars, cosmos, and we're all, we're floating on a big rock called Earth in the cosmos. And star seeds are typically people who come from other planets and other star, colonies. And they have a mission to come here on Earth to fulfill a certain prophecy or a certain mission to awaken the planet back into its true and highest form. So you may have heard of the Pleiadians or the Arcturians or the Sirians, or, there's a lot of different extraterrestrial species. Going a little deep in this. There's a lot of different extraterrestrial species that have been documented and recorded and spoken about that do have starseed people. So starseeds, for example, me. I know for a fact I am a starseed. I come from the Syrian star nation, and I come also from Arcturus. So I've had many lifetimes on these planets learning how to harness and master my energy and to hold a high vibration. And through that knowledge, I have been sent, and I have chosen to come to planet Earth to help awaken people into their sovereignty and remembering the truth of their power and the truth of their light and their, ability to raise the vibration of not only themselves, but their planet and the collective. And so that's what a starseed is. So there's other missions, there's other beings, there's other, ways to awaken, but that's just one. And that's kind of what really shot put my awakening process, is realizing like, okay, I'm not really from Earth. Like, this place is really, dense compared to what I feel like I'm used to. And that can be like a really scary thing, because of course, if you're a starseed, or if you're, somebody that kind of sees through the veil and sees that there's more to this planet, there's more to this experience than, what really meets the eye, it can be a little hard for us to acclimate to this planet, even from a young age, and especially as we get older, because inside ourselves, we know more and more that, like, hey, something's not right here. I don't really vibe 100% with this space, and then still trying to flow with the motion of, Earth life. And it can bring forth a lot of symptoms and a lot of influences, for example, like people and places or things that try to kind of keep us stuck in this vibration. For me personally, when I'm speaking to a lot of you, and when I'm especially in like the renewal 30-day process, we're going through these crazy awakenings and remembrance and like detoxifications of, limiting belief systems that are holding us back. And I've talked with many of my, clients and colleagues and just people in the community, about the struggle of, awakening to yourself and awakening to your potential, but then also being surrounded by a lot of dense people. And, say, for example, if you're learning about your power and your truth and your ability to, do some serious magic, whether that's a light worker, or, you do yoga, or you work with herbs, or you work with crystals, or, you're just a people person, or you work with pranayama, whatever it is that you're awakening to and you're working with. If you have people in your life who are dense, who are eating, crap food, who aren't taking care of themselves, who are just watching TV, who are, obsessed with politics and that whole mumbo jumbo, and, just all of these different aspects, these really dense 3D aspects that are quite literally the opposite of awakening. It's, they're forgetting, they're not, they're stagnant and they're stuck in their ignorance. It can be really hard because, you care about them, but at the same time, you care deeply about yourself, and you have to kind of look, okay, am I supposed to help them? Am I supposed to, just do my own thing? Am I supposed to belittle myself when I'm around them? Or say a lot of times I talk to people who are awakening and they feel really good, when they're doing their own thing, maybe at their house, in their room, like doing their own thing or with their friends. But then they come home or they're around their family members who are very dense and, quite literally still stuck in the matrix, and they feel like their family or these people in their lives that are of a lower vibration bring their vibration down. So this is a really big topic because it's something that is quite real. A lot of times when we're, for example, for me, I'm a highly sensitive person. I'm very empathic. And, for a long time, even just going to school, I would have so much anxiety, social anxiety with going to school because I had a high vibration. I did a lot of self-work, but then when I would go into these social environments where there was denser vibrations, I could feel my heart close and my vibration lower. And so, I wanted to tell you guys a few tools that you can do to help with situations like this that I have learned on my own through experiences and through other people who have told them to me and helped me along the process. So one of them is, you got to learn how to influence the world around you. What it really comes down to is you have an extremely high vibration. You're awakening, you're knowing who you are, you're learning, your truth and your process, and really diving deep into what this world is and how you fit inside of it. That alone, the fact that you are interested in these topics, the fact that you're sitting here listening to this podcast and digging inside of yourself and really looking at, who am I? Like, I want to learn more about medicine and truth and spirituality. That alone makes you somebody who has a very high vibration, somebody who, is not a mundane, stagnant human being. So that alone makes your vibration higher and more powerful and better able to influence the world around you. And so it's a game of perception. So if you're anxious and you have a high vibration or whatever, and you have social anxiety and you're scared that, when you come around your family, you're going to some social environment, you're scared that it's going to lower your vibration, there's two things you can do. One, remember that you have the power to be the influencer. You do not have to lower your vibration to match wherever you are. You can actually bring and harness your higher vibration and set the intention that when you enter these spaces and you come around these people, that your vibration is so high and so honorable that they have no choice but to higher their vibration when they are around you. And that your presence alone can help awaken them along their process and help you not feel depleted but actually feel empowered and enlightened. That is literally all it takes, is setting that intention that you are going to bring forth, this awakening and this ascension for them by your presence and by your vibration, by their vibration, seeing your vibration, and that your vibration is higher. It's positive. It's a higher vibration. So you have the power to influence their energy and to raise their energy levels. They might not, snap in a second and be as high in vibe as you, but they might gradually get there and adapt to your vibration rather than you having to adapt to their vibration. It's quite literally a perception game. If you have the perception that your vibration is going to lower when you're around them, then that's what's going to happen. But if you have the perception that your vibration is going to higher when you're around them, or that their vibration is going to get higher when you're around them, then that's what's going to happen. We create our own realities, by our simple thoughts. It doesn't have to, you don't have to sit there and om and meditate and get all super, super into it and ritualistic with it. I mean, you can if you want, but that's not all it takes. Literally, at the snap of the second, when you set that intention, it's going to happen. That's the way of the universe. That's the ripple of the universe. Second, another thing you can do, and this is probably something to do more when you're going in a big, a big social situation, whether it's a party or, or like a gathering of like people that, maybe it's like a wedding or a family thing where, maybe your family's not that woke, or just an experience when you're going to be around a lot of people. It can be a little exhausting to hold up a high vibration because, if you don't know how to regulate your energy that well, it can be difficult if there's a lot of people around. If it's just a one-on-one interaction, it's a lot easier for you to influence that one person's energy. But to go into the intention of like, oh, okay, I'm going to influence 20 or 30 or 100 people's energy when I'm in this situation, you really have to know how to regulate your energy. So another thing that you can do is lower your chakras by 30%. So our chakras are the energy centers within our body. We have our root chakra, sacral chakra, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and crown, as well as various other chakra and energy points in the body. But those are the main ones. Those are the ones that are along our sushumna that quite literally magnetize life force energy to run through our body, to keep our hearts beating, to keep our brain cognitive, to keep our, our stomach involuntarily digesting and all that magic. And so you can lower the percentage that this chakra is open. So you don't want it to close completely, because when it's closed completely, it can, energy can get very stagnant, and that's how illness can form. But if you lower it just by 30%, that's enough for you to be protected, for you not to be giving too much energy, but also for you not to be receiving too much energy and for you not to be stagnant. And so literally, you can just close your eyes and just breathe. Get in tune with yourself. And start to imagine a red light at the base of your spine. This is your root chakra. Imagining that red light glowing and glowing as bright as it is. And then with your breath, exhale out completely. And then you're going to inhale, like closing your mouth, not closing your mouth, but making like a little circle with your mouth and inhaling through that little circle and imagining the light of your root chakra dimming to 30%. And then exhale. Go to the sacral chakra. Solar plexus. Heart. Throat. Third eye. And crown. And so this little practice alone gets you in tune with your chakras, and it lets your chakras know to lower by 30% so their light is still bright and beaming, but it's not shining forth so much to give too much to everybody and also to receive too much from everybody. And so that'll really help you learn how to regulate your energy, but also learn how to not exhaust yourself, especially if you're a highly sensitive human being like me or an empath. That can really help you. And, finding your own vibration and finding, the connection between you and your sacral and your heart chakra, how much, just in general, how much energy you're giving and receiving. So that's really helpful to know, and I hope that that helps you guys. And another topic that I kind of want to slide into along the awakening process is the, perception of negative and positive and shadow work. Because, oh my God, that's a big it's a whole thing when you're awakening. You don't want to be around negative people. You don't want to, we have these perceptions of what negative and positive mean, which is, just a game of density. So the positive would be, again, knowing, awakening, ascension. And then, darkness would be more of a lack of knowing or intelligence and in a state of ignorance. And so that's quite literally all like what it really comes down to. And it's not just like good and bad and good and evil. It's quite literally knowledge and ignorance as well. So, a lot of times we think of like, there are evil forces out there. I'm not saying that there aren't. But a lot of times in our everyday life, it can just be, a lack of knowledge or awakening of knowledge. And the fact that sometimes it's not just positive or just negative. Sometimes it's neutral. Sometimes it's just different. And allowing yourself to really recognize in your life what is truly negative, what's truly positive, and what might just be different, and what just is neutral, and what is balanced. Because we really want to be at a state of balanced. And a lot of times, darkness is truly our teacher. No matter what dark thing that you're going through, in some way it is teaching you something. Some way it has a purpose. If we didn't have darkness and we only had good and knowledge, it would be, it would be hard to push ourselves and to, get our missions completely fulfilled because we have work to do. We have, we need we need something to ascend from. And that's just kind of how the planet works. That's just how that's just how life works. Like we need something to ascend from. And so that's the purpose of darkness, and the moment you realize that it's just there to catapult you forward in your awakening process, the easier it is for you to kind of work with it and to, allow yourself to really accept it and accept that, your shadow is your teacher. It is one of your greatest teachers because, when something triggers you, and I've made a whole other podcast on shadow work and trigger work, so really go and listen to that if this is a topic that you're interested in and that you're working with. So, using these as affirmations and, places for us to contemplate our growth and where we're at and what we're here to do. Because everything is happening for a reason, and everything in our life has a purpose, especially when we're awakening. And so something that you might see as density that you don't want to deal with, you don't want to be around, sit with it and see what you can learn from it. See what, information can come into your life from these experiences and these people who might seem dense, and learn how to regulate your energy when you're working with them. Because you don't want to just be like 100% open, like, hey, I'm here. You want to know how to regulate it, know how to contemplate, and gain that wisdom. It's a huge step in the awakening process, learning how to, decipher what's right and what's wrong and what's good for you, what's bad for you, what's a lesson and what's just something that you need to let go of. It's a huge process, and it's kind of just a day-by-day thing of, really sitting with things and feeling their true vibration and asking, your guides or, your body to give you the right or wrong answer. Because, you really have to get guidance from other sources when it comes to these kinds of things. And the more that you connect in that way and connect with your mind, body, and spirit and allow it to be your guide and your medicine, then that's when you're going to really see some amazing awakening, some amazing, doors open for you and, liberation from very specific things in your life that may be holding you back because you're standing up to the plate and saying, hey, I'm awakening. I know this is here for me to learn something. I know that I have the power to do this, and I have the power to ascend from this. And you're asking your spirits, your guides, your own body, your own awareness, your higher self to channel through messages to help you along that process. And literally, if you're awakening and you're not asking for guidance, like that's why you're finding so much conflict, is because you need to be asking for guidance. A huge part of awakening is realizing that you are not alone. There are so many forces beyond us that are working for us in our ascension process, that are literally putting little things in front of us so that we can awaken, and putting little things in front of us so that we can ask for help, because the more you make that connection, the higher vibration will be. And, another big thing is just, allowing yourself to be in the awakening process and allowing yourself to just sit with certain topics and certain things that you're experiencing, because a lot of times, it's hard for us to just hold space. We're so quick to run from things. We're so quick to manipulate things rather than just sit with them and allow them to just be and allow them to just teach us. We always want to modify them. We always want to say, oh no, I don't like that and I don't like this, but I want some more of this, and like I want this to be the essence of it. And sometimes that's just not how life works. Sometimes we do have free will in that space to completely create a situation exactly how we want it to be. But sometimes we don't. And sometimes you kind of just have to, let it be and just sit with it so that you can learn the most from it and truly experience it at its core so that it can move on from your life and your experience. And so that you can transcend beyond that whole step in the process wherever you're at. You really got to hold space for everything that comes your way. And it can be difficult because that's a huge thing for me along my awakening process and kind of with my story is I just wanted to change everything. I wanted to manipulate everything to be exactly how I wanted it. And it wasn't, it wasn't until recently where I realized, okay, I just need to sit with this. I just need to be here now. I just need to allow it to be my teacher and not try to, manipulate things so much, even in ceremonies where there's, my body's uncomfortable and I want to sit down a certain way. I'll hear a voice in my head say, no, just sit with it. Hold this space. Allow yourself to be uncomfortable. Life isn't always about being comfortable. And I know people hear that all the time. I know you probably hear that all the time from so many different people in your life. But it's true. We're not meant to always be comfortable. We're meant to, quite literally step outside of our comfort zones. And it's been said for a very long time from a various amount of ascended masters that we are in this lifetime, we are not supposed to always go to people and places and things that have the same vibration as us. We should be going towards people and towards experiences that have a different vibration from us because that's where we truly learn. Because if you're always around people and places and things that have the same vibration as you, there's usually not a lot of stepping outside of your comfort zone and exploring and, stepping up to a new plate and learning. It really takes stepping outside of your comfort zone and exploring something new to really learn. You can't just stay inside the same moment in the same place and the same people and the same things. You got to expand beyond that and to really step up inside of yourself and really allow yourself to be a whole new experience and exploration of somebody new and something new. And, it's a process, it's not something that's just snap, you're instantly there. It's something that takes time. Understanding, you gotta be understanding with yourself. You gotta be understanding with people. You gotta be understanding with the process. It can't be, you can't be so quick to say what's going on or being so quick to, be judgmental. A big thing for many people when they're awakening is, we get very judgmental. It's easy for us to just be like, oh, I don't like this, or I don't like them, and I don't want this, or this person's doing this, and that's bad. We get so judgmental, and we get so quick to identify things that we really have no idea about, and that we really have no, truth about. We just kind of say things a lot of times, and we kind of just judge people a lot of times, saying, oh, you're a low vibration, you're doing this, oh, I don't mess with that, that's bad. We're so quick to judge instead of just holding space for people and experiences and understanding them and just allowing them to be exactly what they are, because everything is always running its own course. There is higher intelligence, there is experience and things out there that are happening at very specific rates and very specific processes that we just need to understand. That we need to just understand that sometimes things just gotta be. You gotta be understanding with people. And, during the awakening process, the more that you can just be understanding with people, the easier it's going to be. The more that you can just understand that people are running their own course and doing their own things, the lighter it's going to be on you. And that's the honest to God truth. The more space you can hold for others to just authentically be themselves and going through their own process is the best way to help yourself and help them. Lead by example. Do your own thing. Allow people to do their thing and allow you to either influence them or to allow yourself to be protected. The moment you say, I am safe, you are quite literally safe. Nothing can take that away from you. And I wanted to really, I'm just feeling called at this moment to pull a card from my Isis Oracle deck. Alrighty, Isis. What message do you have for us about the awakening process? What message do you have for us about holding space for others, but also holding space for ourselves? And what is your key lesson for us as we are awakening, as we are talking about, what it means to awaken, what the process is, what we need to be mindful of, what we need to be careful of, what symptoms come to play? What lessons and messages do you have for us, Isis? Okay. Okay, so I pulled two. So one. The first one is Chariot of Ascension. Oh my goodness. You can't just make this stuff up, guys. So Chariot of Ascension, Merkaba. A spiritual practice has come or is soon coming to your attention that will help your soul journey. Take your time to develop and practice your chosen spiritual discipline regularly. This will help you grow in power and grace, anchoring the spiritual light within the body of your soul. So I feel like in this message, Isis is really telling us that, during our ascension process, there are specific tools and practices that are spiritual and grounding and enlightening that come to us to help us through the experience and through the symptoms. And so in moments, or every moment, every day, just practicing, whatever spiritual development thing that's coming your way, allowing yourself to hold space for it, because it will help you grow. Like she said, it will help you grow with power and grace while also anchoring the spiritual light within your body. Because if you're awakening, if you're going through an awakening process and you're not literally holding space for you to grow and for you to learn and for you to experience and for you to higher vibration, it's going to be harder along the entire process because you are not holding space. You must hold space. You must hold space. Another one that just, kind of fell out of the deck is Wings of Isis. You have a special spiritual relationship with the angelic worlds. Part of your soul mission is to birth angelic consciousness and values such as fearlessness, compassion, and service into this human culture. This oracle also brings you an angelic assistance, intervention, and confirmation too. So, this card is, to me, a resemblance of the fact that we are completely supported along this process, that there is nothing that can take away, our protection and our guidance, that we are 100% assisted by the angelic realms, by, all of the leaders of this reality. We are supported. And, that we are here to birth the angelic consciousness and, birth the higher values of being fearless and compassionate and holding service for all. And so through the awakening symptoms, and I'm going to start to get deeper into what the awakening symptoms are, and, through these symptoms, the more that we can be fearless, the more that we can just do our service authentically and hold compassion for people along their journey, the more that our symptoms will, lower, and the more that we will learn how to regulate the entire process and learn how to hold ourselves in a way that is empowering for all. So, for example, an awakening symptom for me, and kind of just my story, is, that I shared a little bit earlier, is, my social anxiety. During my awakening process, because I was young, I was in high school, as I can imagine some of you guys are that, follow me and listening to me. It can be really hard to be a teenager or just a young adult and going through an awakening process, because you're surrounded by people who are doing mundane things and who have opportunities but aren't stepping up to them, and who are kind of mindless. For me, I mean, I went to high school in Humboldt, Texas. Like, it was their load. I pray for those children because so many of the teachers just have no idea about what they're even talking about and what the energy that they're putting out and how harmful it can be. And for me, like, I was very aware, I was very wise, and a lot of times all my teachers kind of just let me alone, let me do my thing. A lot of students didn't really talk to me, kind of just like looked at me weird, and I had a few friends that I really connected with, but a lot of it was just, I felt very alone along my awakening process. I felt like there really wasn't many people that I could relate to. There wasn't really a lot of people that I could confide in or go to for sacred knowledge or for, topics like this, just how to regulate the process, how to regulate my energy, like by the time I was 17, I was a Reiki master, and I had gone through all the training I needed to bring forth these messages. And by that time, it was a little easier for me. But especially when I was like 15 and 16, I didn't like know how to communicate with people about this kind of stuff. I kind of just did it in my own, in my room, and on my animals, and on plants and stuff, and not really in the human world. And so a big thing for me during my awakening process was just allowing people to just be, and allowing people to just, do their thing, and not letting myself get anxious about it. So a huge symptom for me was social anxiety. I would get anxious before I would go to school, before I had to do a meeting or like some kind of presentation, or even just going to the grocery store. I would get anxious because I was fearful of our energies clashing. And instead of allowing myself to be empowered and, how I am now, I hold myself with such grace and empress energy that I don't let lower vibrations bring me down as easy as I used to. It used to be a really big problem. I would come home from school and just be quite literally like just almost lifeless because I didn't know how to regulate my energy. And so, that was a huge thing for me, is, not letting myself get anxious in social institutions and situations, and allowing myself to actually be an influencer in that environment. And it took a long time to figure that out. I'm still learning it, I'm still in school, I'm still learning it, I'm in college now, so it's a little different. But there's still ignorance no matter where you go in the world. You could be at the grocery store and you can get social anxiety because you're scared of, people and the place that you're at and the energy that it has. But for me, that was a really big one. I had to learn how to be the influencer of the situation and regulate my energy. Another one was, some basic ones that you could really go through along your awakening process is sleeplessness. So a lot of times we can, when we're awakening, when our energy is, being kind of awakened and activated, it can be hard for us to sleep because we can really get into a space of, I don't know how to explain this that well. We can get into a space of restlessness because so much energy is surging through us, so much information is surging through us that we just want to stay up all night and kind of learn about these things. But even when we want to go to bed, the energy is so intense that it can be hard for us to sleep. So, that's just like one symptom that you can do. And of course, like just allowing yourself to meditate. And if you're going through that symptom, it could just be a sign that you need to learn how to calm yourself and how to harness your energy no matter what time it is. And so maybe practicing before you go to bed, meditating or doing a mantra or doing, using essential oils and herbs that can help you relax. So another one can be intensified perception. So that could be, the way you see the world is just very intensified. Things kind of get bolder. Things kind of get, more hardcore as far as the way that you're perceiving the world. And, you might see things, you might see like signs and stuff that you wouldn't have usually seen in the past. And you could even see, your perception could either, you see the world in a brighter situation, a more fascinating or beautiful way that you might have not, really paid attention to in the past. Or it could be the opposite. You could be seeing more of the destruction and, the downgrading of the life that so many people are living in. And so it kind of just, like I said, it depends on like what you're experiencing and what your perception is, and how to harness that, and how to really step into a plate of like, okay, what is this phenomena that I'm going through? What is this experience? What is the complex energy? What is this meaning? A big thing during the awakening process is looking for the signs and learning the signs and the synchronicities, and to step up into them in a way that is wise, in a way that is protected, in a way that is very honorable. Another ascension symptom could be that your sense of time kind of can get distorted. Things kind of seem like they're going faster than they would have in the past, or things might just seem that their speed is getting increased. Time begins to kind of change and warp when you're awakening, because you're quite literally ascending your mentality and your perception beyond like time and space regulations. Your energy, we're not confined by time and space. Like in 3D, yeah, but as you begin to ascend higher into higher dimensions and higher levels of consciousness, you begin to move beyond time and space. So that's why sometimes when you're awakening and going through this whole process, a symptom can be, timelessness. You really start to tune into that timelessness, and some people get maybe overworked by it, but a lot of times, you can, just learn how to flow with it. That's kind of what I do. I just kind of flow with it. So, another thing is you just like, I don't know how to explain this, like just learning a big thing of awakening for me was learning how to feel people's energy and like feeling their presence, and not just people, but like certain places and things, and just learning how to tune into the actual life force around all people. And that can be, it's just a prevalent thing. It can be a little intense to really start to feel, people's presence in an energetical form in like a whole new way. So that's a big thing that happens. Another thing is you might be more into, kind of getting more into like connectedness, like seeing the world as in its oneness vibration. That's a really healthy symptom to be experiencing, is, the harmony between all people, places, and things. That's usually a good place to be. You might see like, an activating of like your new self, of like a new you that you're allowing yourself to be. And so, it can come with a dramatic, reduction of like inner noise and thoughts and chatter, but also just ways of thinking and things that you used to do that just doesn't really serve you. Like for me, before my awakening process, like, when I was 14, 15, 16, I was still awakening, but I realized that it was really getting stagnant because of, how much marijuana I was smoking at the time. I would smoke like all the time, especially when I was in high school and I was living in Colorado. We would just smoke weed all day, before school, during lunch, after school, like all day after school. It was intense. And I realized, my ascension process really, really kick-started when I moved to Texas. And I realized that, once I, didn't really have like a huge source of marijuana like how I did in Colorado, I realized how much it was hindering my process. And that was just something that changed within me that I kind of had to go through, was like letting go of that addiction and allowing myself to not get so absorbed in it, and how that thought pattern inside of me was changing, just based off of, allowing myself to not get stuck inside of that vibration, of that stagnation. And also inner quietness. You might find yourself not having so many thoughts. Let me think of a few more. You might feel more empathy and like compassion towards people. Like, you might start to sense that like during your an awakening symptom could be that you're just feeling people's emotions much deeper. You could be around somebody and you just start to really sense like how they're feeling, and being able to put yourself in their shoes. Like there might be more like lucidity within the boundaries of like people and places and things. Like you might feel more connected to them and being able to really allow yourself to really feel them in a much deeper way. Like even just with animals, you can really tune into their energy and like what they're feeling a bit more, which is a really cool thing to explore. And another thing that can happen that I've noticed with some people that can be a little scary when they're awakening is they start to kind of let go of like fears of death. So they might feel like a little bit more, I don't know, like I've experienced like just feeling more of like a rebel, like not really caring like what happens, like not really like kind of just more like living in the moment, but also like in a way that's like I'm not scared of like dying or whatever. Like I just allow myself to really just kind of live from a place of like knowing that I'm like I would just transcend my consciousness. That could be a big thing, but that can be a little scary for some people, because if you go from having fear of death into then just like being 100% okay with it, it can be a little like, why is that happening? Like, am I suicidal? Am I like just not scared of death? Like, no, you're just realizing that there is more to this than planet Earth and this reality that you're living in, that there's something next. So you're not so quick to do things, not so quick to limit yourself from doing things from a space of fear. A big thing that I witness, like I've kind of talked about, is like the lack of like group identity. So when you strongly like I don't really like identify with people around you, that's like probably one of the biggest ascension symptoms that I've witnessed myself and just within people that I work with. And you just start, you don't really identify with like religions as much or ethnicities or nationalities. You kind of just allow yourself to be global and allow yourself to kind of belong in a space that is bigger than just you, that is in oneness with all and not limited by any beliefs or practices, which is a very taboo thing in our culture. People don't really do that. So it can be hard to like have, lose that group mentality, especially if you come from a place where that is a very like strong aspect of your culture or your family. A lot of people have that group mentality, whether that's the religion or the way that they eat, or it can be very hard, especially when you start to feel that empathy and start to really tune into like the energy of animals, and like you start to realize that the flesh that you're eating actually goes into your body and it's stagnant, like rotting meat inside of your body, and it's their energy is infused in that flesh, and like it's just sitting there stagnant into your body. That was a big thing for me, and that's something huge that happens for a lot of people. That's why you see a lot of people who are more conscious and more awakened that they don't eat meat, because a big thing is you awaken to understanding that when you eat meat, like you're putting flesh and energy that's rotting inside of your body. Like it's not fresh food. It's not a plant that looks ripe and has color and has good texture. It's flesh that's like dead, and it just goes into your body and lays stagnant and slowly decomposes, rather than where like fruit and vegetables, it's fresh, you cook it or you eat it raw and it goes into your body and it digests very smoothly and easily, and it doesn't really stay stagnant into your body for a long time. So it can be hard to realize that and start to feel that way, especially if you have a family that eats a lot of meat. That was like a huge thing for me, was like standing my ground with that and like not letting my family make me feel stupid or dumb or weird for like not wanting to have stagnant flesh inside my body. Like that was a really hard thing, and now they accept it. I mean, I still get some shit from family members, but I'm just like, yeah, that's just how I do my life, and that's why I look like this, and that's why you look like that, and that's why you feel like that, and that's why I feel like this. So just allowing yourself to own whatever you're feeling and not like belittling yourself to fit their vibration, because that's where you'll see a lot of conflict. And as far as ascension is when you start to like act like what you're going through doesn't have significance, and you try, like all these dense people, they're going to try to influence you. And so the more that you can allow yourself to not get into that habit, the better off you'll be. Trying to think if there's anything else. I don't know, you just get more curious. You just kind of, your behavioral practices would change. And with all these things, like, they're quite dramatic. So even though that they might not be like, something as far as like your relationships might become more authentic, or you want to relate with people in a more authentic way, although that might seem as a very nice thing and a very like high vibrational thing, it can be really hard because there might be relationships or aspects of your relationships or people in your life where they are not being expressed from an authentic vibration. So the hardest part is really having to recognize that and sit with it and then change it. So there's a lot of things within the ascension symptoms that can be very difficult and challenging, but the more that you can just come from a space of understanding, allowing things to just be, allowing things to take their course and flow, and allowing people to do whatever they're going to do, while you are working on yourself and allowing yourself to ascend and either influencing the world around you in moments when you can, or allowing yourself to, close up just a little bit, like we did the 30% chakra range. Just allowing yourself to close a little bit so that you can hold space for yourself and others and not have conflict. It's all about regulating your energy and just understanding that the world we live in is much more mass and much more density than we can really handle. So the more we just kind of let go of that, the easier it is. And yeah, so I really hope that this podcast helped you in whatever way was necessary for you. I hope that, you gain the strength to just keep going along the process and keep, allowing yourself to step forward in such a strong role and, have patience with whatever it is you're growing through. Understanding that, one, God doesn't give us anything that we can't handle. Two, you've been through shit before, so you can definitely get through this. Like, that is something that I remind myself all the time. Like, I've been through so much, why couldn't I get through this one little thing? When we get into an ascension symptom, if we're aligned, then yeah, we easily understand that. But if there were in times when we're out of alignment, it can be really hard to see that. We're like, oh my God, I've went through this and this and this, and now I'm going through this and blah, blah, blah. Instead of being like, okay, yeah, I went through that in the past, so I can definitely get through this right now in this moment. So it's all about perception and allowing yourself to hold a perception that is empowering, but also give space to others to do their own thing and be their own person and flow in their own motion. So whatever it is you're going through, honey, you got this. I believe in you. And just keep allowing yourself to explore and expand your reality and expanding your consciousness and allowing that to be your medicine, allowing you to be your own medicine, allowing the world to be your medicine, taking all the science and synchronicity to heart, and allowing people to either see your medicine, allow that to influence them, or just allowing, others to find their own medicine in their own way. And just, you can hold so much power in awakening others through your own awakening. And try not to get stuck and stagnant in the negative symptoms and experiences, because they're just your lessons. They're just your teachers to push you along the process and to help you become stronger and more patient with this world that we live in, and to give you some deeper insights on who you are and why you came here. So, much love. And, I hope that this podcast really helped you with understanding what awakening is and kind of the process and how to navigate it in the most graceful way possible. I have so much love and respect for you for showing up and for listening to this podcast, because you're dedicated to yourself. You're dedicated to this world that we live in and bettering it, not only for you, but for the generations to come and the entire universe, because all that you do has a huge ripple that goes way beyond this planet and way beyond this perception. It goes very deep into the ethers and the magic of the universe. So thank you for your work. Thank you for listening to me. Definitely go check out earthly.com and see our services. We can, if you're having something that you're really growing through, we can do if you have something really hardcore that you're going through, we can do a reading or an energy healing session. The renewal course is really for people who are, going through ascension symptoms that need help navigating it, or who are ready to kickstart their, awakening in a very high vibrational way, in a way that is guided and, navigated for the best exact mastery of themselves, and rather than just kind of like floating along and just like not really knowing what to do. So I hope that, you guys take use of my services, because it truly comes from my heart, and it's for you guys to grow and expand yourselves into new horizons and new ways of living that's empowered. I just want you to, know that your divine destiny is waiting for you, and it's here the moment that you decide that you're dedicated to it. So dedicate yourself, allow yourself to be. With much love and grace, you guys. Peace and Satnam. And check out earthly.com.